show them using the places this side of the map.
Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm going to be letting you know why everyone is playing this tank. This is the tier 10 Swedish heavy tank, it is the Kranvagn, and today I'm going to be showing you two ranked battles that were played yesterday in the new season on my free-to-play account. Now before I get stuck in with the discussion on the Kranvagn, let me talk about this battle at hand, and that is that we're playing on the Sand River map. And if you spawn on the west on Sand River map, I do feel like it's a bit of a death trap if you do not take the north for the western side. If you advance your way towards the south and you go and work your way on the ridge lines, sure, Kranvagn's going to be very good. But unfortunately, unlike this 277 here, who is basically calling our team a bunch of Muppets right now, and I've encouraged them since the start of the game and even before it started to... Oh god, I've got to stop and say that one. Looks like I just tracked the Object 140, who then overturned on the cliff and actually fell down for 1,500 on top of the 444 that we managed to deal to them. Unfortunately for me, I didn't manage to track him, and I guess the collision damage doesn't really add to it there. I digress. Let me focus on what I'm talking about once again. And that is that this map, the south is just a complete death trap for the west, because if your opponents are able to get over into a location like this up here, then they've just got super easy shots at all of your defensive locations, and so you have to hold the north, you have to hold positions like where this bat chat is. So in my opinion, why not just completely forego the south, try and use the defensive locations like where we see our bat chat and our super conqueror, and also then have tanks like the Leopard and the Foshby up in the hills trying to hold that corner. Then what you can do is take the whole of the north and then be able to turn it into a north-south fight where no longer does the eastern team have the advantage, but I'd feel that the western team would have the advantage because they've managed to turn it again into a north-south fight. Now of course, the enemy team could do this and then it would turn into a brawl, but that ends up with usually the better team will win, and it's kind of a 50-50. And so whenever you get into a map like this in ranked, it's, in my opinion, it's one of my favorite things to do. Get behind your team, try and encourage them to come up with a tactic and try and invest in going that way. Because one of the worst things that can happen in ranked is where you have kind of 8 tanks against 5, and then the 2 tanks on the enemy team that hopefully your 5 are chasing actually run away from them. You can't really make up for numbers unless you just have a huge skill advantage against your opponents, and most of the time that's simply not going to happen, and numbers are what speak louder. So in this situation, I'm going to be using the ridiculous speed of the Kranvagn here to just go down slope at 70 kilometers an hour to turn what is usually a kill zone into just a bit of a nonchalant push down the dunes of this Sand River map. And that's one of the reasons why this vehicle is just so darn meta and so darn crazy. And 2 Kranvagns going in against a 430U. We're going to wait, we're going to wait, we're going to wait, we're going to overmatch the top of his tank, setting him on fire, and we're going to go for him again, and yeah, that's a bit of a freebie, as while he's burning, we also managed to Amarak the 430U as well. So yeah, a nice little advantage against the weak engine deck of the Soviet medium tank. I believe it's only 30 millimeters. And I must give a massive shout out to Bokor on my team, Bokor 12, who I went and said a thank you to in the post game as well, because this kind of cross-play here to be able to get into this position really just took the fight to the enemy team. And what it's going to do is it's going to separate their forces. Now the enemy team feel, well, they're trying to push in across the east, can we manage to advance in through the west? And while we're down by 4,500 hit points right now, at least from what we've seen, maybe the enemy western heavy tanks are actually damaged in that. And remember, all of the hit points at the top of your screen doesn't actually update until vehicles are within your render distance. But hopefully what's happening is we're dividing the enemy's forces from the south, so they have to come back. So in this situation, I really don't want to get caught by this gorilla. I try and fire a couple on the move, unable to be able to catch the gorilla, but luckily an extra bit of spotting might slowly chip away at the hit point disadvantage that we have. So that is the situation on Sand River, and that is what's happening right now. And I'm going to leave my friend, who I've told to fall back a little bit, because I really feel like they're going to rotate across the south towards the east to come and dig us out. And what I feel like the more sensible play for me right now is to go across to the west and to go into a hold down position where I can proceed to protect our cap circle, because the last thing I want right now is to get capped. And as we can see, the enemy team are thinking about doing the same thing. Both of those Kranvagns that were spotted towards the west have rotated back towards the middle of the map because they were worried about getting capped out as well. So the enemy unfortunately have 3 Kranvagns, and that's a different discussion altogether. One of my friends, Michael, aka M4, actually did a statistical analysis of every single one of my ranked games from last season. And he found out that out of all of the tanks that played, 18% of the tanks were Kranvagns. That means that on average, there are going to be 4 Kranvagns in every game, 2 Kranvagns aside, on average. Just absolutely outrageous that 20% of all of ranked battles that I played in out of all of the ranked battles that I played in last season, nearly 2 tanks were Kranvagns on each team. It's outrageous stuff. So in this situation, I'm just hoping that I can manage to get one more shot in against the Kranvagn, but now I know that he's reloading after he misses that shot against the Progetto. We're going to be able to advance forwards. Now, I really didn't expect a high roll there for 491 damage. My condolences to the Progetto alongside me, but we're just having to manage to try and dig this out. And also, I must highlight that Bokor 12 is going down absolutely swinging and distracting the enemy across the eastern flank, and it took 2 Kranvagns and a Leopard to be able to dig him out. What an absolute legend on that flank. So the Super Conqueror actually manages to shoot one up through my hull there. I'm going to come around the corner, track the Super Conqueror, get a shot in. Don't want to take a second one just in case he's got a really good reload on that vehicle, and I'll let the Bat Chatillon on my team finish him off. So now it's a 4 versus 3 situation, and the hit points are pretty much dead even. Although, once again, we don't know what kind of hit points the Kranvagns are over towards the eastern part of this map, and you're going to see that in chat that I'm going to be asking Bokor if he could tell me what kind of hit points the Kranvagns are on, so we know what we're dealing with. Because to all intents and purposes, one of them's on full health, the STB-1 is very low on hit points, but the other one is on half hit points. And knowing that having that knowledge of what kind of a situation you're going to get yourself into is very important in these tense endgame situations. So I ask, what's their Kranvagn's HP? As my STB-1 shuts down their STB-1 after their STB-1 shut down our Leopard. And now I don't really need to know what the Kranvagn's HP is on, but a little bit less now, and I'm rolling good right now with these rolls. Am I ever going to low roll a shot? Well, hopefully not, right? I'm not sure if I should reload in this situation. I asked Bokor, what's the other? Is the other full? But to be honest, that's a bit of a misplay by me, because if I was to press my Alt key, I would see that they were on half health. But 44 hit points definitely changes this game, as my Batchat manages to get around into the back of the enemy Kranvagn. And unfortunately, while I say that I'm going to try and help out this STB-1 and ask him to fall back just to give us time to be able to get there and reload, the STB-1 is under so much pressure from this Kranvagn, it's very unlikely that he's going to be able to escape. And so the Kranvagn, everybody's playing it. Why are they playing it? Well, it goes without saying. If you have 12 degrees of gun depression, you have God tier 2900 DPM, you have amazing mobility with all of the field mods, and importantly the fact that self-propelled guns aren't even really a class in this game anymore, that why wouldn't you want to just have the god of a ridgeline with God tier DPM with having all of the benefits of an autoloader so that you can manage to just absolutely clip out your opponents. Put 1 into the side of the turret, 2 into the side of the front of the hull there, and a nonchalant 4,600 damage and 1,300 spotting, and we managed to kill 40% of the enemy team. And a shout out to the Bat Chat as well, who managed to pick up 3 kills, but also importantly a shout out to the hero Bokor, who died valiantly and distracted the enemy team over towards the eastern part of the map, which allowed me to be able to rotate and defend the base and then mount an offense. Now in this kind of situation on this map, usually I will always push the west. Taking that C1 area usually ends up with a victory, because the east just takes too long to be able to push through, and the west, at least it feels like for me, is way more progressive, where your gun depression is going to matter much more. And honestly, at the start of this game, I clearly wasn't paying attention. I suddenly pinged the map when it's too late. You do not want to do that. 10 minutes into the battle, might as well be 10 minutes into the battle. You have to get your team going and create a plan in the first 30 seconds, and I must have been on my desktop. So instead, I'm going to let the Kranvagn on my team know, mate, don't die over there. I'm going to tell the Progetto the same thing. Don't die over there. It's not going to be useful. And instead, what we're going to have to do is be able to defend the base. And when you think about it, this is actually a pretty good idea. We have a Kranvagn and a Kranvagn with an ST2 versus a VZ55, an IS7 versus an extra Kranvagn on the enemy team, and an E100 and a 50B. I mean, look at the enemy's heavy tanks, all completely meta vehicles. Look at our heavy tanks. We got 2 meta tanks out of the out of the 6 heavies. I'm not even going to mention that in this video, that this is only really like a majority 2-class game now. I've talked all about that. I don't want to be a broken record. Go and check out my last few videos on ranked and how really it's a very unenjoyable experience where 80% or even 90% of the tanks are just 2 classes in what is meant to be a 5-class game, which is one of the reasons why I fell in love. Honestly, the only reason I'm playing ranked now is to just get it over with. I play ranked for the reward tank. I play ranked to be able to get bond equipment. I play ranked to be able to get gold on my free-to-play account. You can get yourself, I believe, 2,000 gold each season for managing to complete ranked. And I play ranked to be able to get better bond equipment than anyone else, because only people who finish ranked in all 3 seasons are going to be able to take the bond durability module to be able to have more hit points, more track health, more repair speed, more this, more that. Only people who finish ranked this season as well are going to be able to get a bond turbo, which revolutionizes the way that you can play certain tanks, like the Kranvagn, which needs all the engine power it can get, but also importantly, how you can play tank destroyers. But I digress. Let me focus on what's going on right now. And that is that we're just going to put up a good defense and we're going to play to our team's, well, we're going to mitigate our team's weaknesses. And that was the fact that I knew all of the enemy were going to go over towards the west. I knew with all of those meta heavies on the enemy team that they were just going to shove through that flank. And if we'd gone over there, it would have been a complete disaster. Instead, I'm going to play what is, in my opinion, the best tank in the game, the Kranvagn, and just sit in a ridgeline. And while I do get shot in the side there by the Leopard, poor play by me, I still managed to get a little bit of spotting against the Kranvagn. And now I'm turning my turret just about, like, almost 45 degrees. It's not going to give me the best turret protection, but at least it's not going to give a super easy shot towards the side. And as long as I keep well, from both angles is what I'm trying to suggest. But keep in mind that even if you angle the Kranvagn's turret just a little bit, that is going to allow easy penetration, especially by high explosive anti-tank rounds from your opponents, so be careful with that. And this Leopard, he's just making a huge mistake. I guess they thought they had an advantage numerically, but you don't really have an advantage numerically when there's a tank on the enemy team that can do 1,320 damage, albeit within 5.5 seconds, and then be able to reload ridiculously quickly to be able to do it all over again. Honestly, World of Tanks has a serious auto-loading problem right now. The Kranvagn never used to be overpowered before Wargaming, for some reason, decided to change it to have 440 alpha damage, but not actually change its intra-clip reload, so now it has more burst damage. But also, they did that in conjunction with nerfing high explosive rounds, which were one of the hardest counters for this tank, and also nerfing artillery, so it's not even a class. Previously, we could have never have performed this tactic if the enemy had had artillery. If the enemy had had artillery, if I sat in that corner, all that would have happened is they would have shelled me and shelled me and shelled me, and eventually the team that surrounded us would have won, because our artillery would not have been effective against the enemy team. Because your artillery can't work if you all camp in the corner, right? Your artillery will have to fire like tiny little shells, whereas the enemy artillery have big looping shells to be able to dig you out of camping. That is what artillery is there for. It's to stop people from camping in the corner of the map, waiting until the enemy make mistakes, and then jumping out just like this to be able to go and farm as much as you can, or as much as they can, which is the whole meta inside ranked, right? You don't want to take the risk, as I said in Why Ranked is Toxic video. It's all about making the low risk plays that will quite often end up with your team losing, but also at least you're never going to lose so badly that you end up losing your chevrons, at least compared to the rest of your team. So that is why everybody is playing this tank. It's got broken DPM. With the field mods and with really good equipment, it just accelerates this vehicle into something that's outrageous. This tank was never meant to be driving around this quickly. But when you've got all of the crew skills, when you've got yourself some bond vents, when you've got yourself a bond turbo which gives this thing engine power so now it drives around more like a medium, all of those weaknesses, all of those problems that the Kranvagn had can now be mitigated, so it just becomes this all-round absolute god-tier monster tank that you kind of question, what's the point of playing anything else? And so this season, I'm not going to. I'm honestly not playing ranked for fun. I'm playing ranked because I want the rewards. It's a shallow form of a game mode, but if you want to be competitive inside the game, you don't have a choice to not play it. You have to. So in this situation, the most dangerous tank in the game is coming after me, arguably frontally. We're going to track them once, we're going to track them twice. They don't believe in using a durability module on their vehicle, and so I'm going to get a cheeky top gun at the end of the game. Well, so we managed to vanquish 6 of the enemy's 10 players, and we get ourselves a cheeky 6,000, nearly 7,000 combined. So is there any doubt as to why people are playing this tank? Well, do you know what? Wargaming showed even more incompetence this season with the Battle Pass because they decided, and I have no idea how they could not see this coming, to allow the Kranvagn to actually get more points in the Battle Pass. Now, that would be okay in the random battles, but Wargaming decided to have this Kranvagn bonus spill over into ranked as well. And so now, if you finish in the top 3 in a regular tier 10 tank, you get 7 Battle Pass points progress. But if you play in the Kranvagn, you get 9. And if we take a look for the losing team, on the losing team, let's say you finish in the top 5. So you finish either in 4th or 5th place. If you play any vehicle, it's going to be 3 points, but if you play in the Kranvagn, it's going to be 5 points. Wargaming, we're talking about literally getting 2/3 more progress. In that specific example, when you finish 4th or 5th on the losing team in the Kranvagn than any other tank. Why did we need to encourage the player base to play more Kranvagns in ranked by giving them more Battle Pass progress? It just absolutely baffles me. Honestly, it's as if Wargaming really don't even think or care about the implications that their different events have on the meta of the game. And honestly, I don't even really think that they consider ranked battles to be kind of a competitive mode where you can really truly test yourself. They just look at it as another way to encourage you to play World of Tanks and have you fulfill your obligations to tick a load of boxes so you can stay as competitive as everyone else. And so really, why would you put yourself at a disadvantage? Why wouldn't you play the most meta tank that is also making progress towards completing the Battle Pass super quickly? In our first game in the Kranvagn, I got 1,386 base experience for killing 4 vehicles, and I was really happy to see that Bokor also had an incredible game and finished 2nd place, also getting that double chevron slot. In the second game, we managed to get 1,359, and is it any surprise that the Kranvagns are on top? It's not a coincidence. And when you have a system where your position in the post-game has implications for how quickly you climb and also where you're going to end up, either in bronze, silver, or gold, effectively by playing any tank that isn't a vehicle like this one, you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage. And at least, in my opinion, this kind of lack of integrity of ranked really it has significant implications for the significance of your achievements within it. And for a lot of players, outside of Clan Wars, going and smashing through ranked and feeling like you got the gold badge was awesome. And I feel like that significance is being eroded, and really it's just with incompetent decisions from Wargaming's balancing department, and also with how their events overlap and the ramifications for the meta. So ladies and gents, boys and girls, that is why everyone is playing this monster tank, and why the sad fact of the matter should probably be, well, if you can't beat them, join them. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know what you think about ranked. Do you care about it at all now? Do you bother to play it? Do you absolutely love it? Do you enjoy it? What kind of tanks are you playing in it? And what do you think about the whole kind of Kranvagn meta that's not only in ranked, but also definitely starting to seep over into the random battles as well? And if for some reason you haven't had enough Kranvagn gameplay, then as this video is released, I'm going to be smashing some ranked on my main account today. But I will be playing definitely a filthy amount of Kranvagn. So come along on Twitch if that's your kind of thing. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.